Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, you're too kind. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My. Well, guys, thanks for that standing ovation. It's Ken Scott, Senior U.S. Immigration Law Intelligence Analyst with Triple W, U.S. Entry Waiver Services.com. And as you guys are well aware, we resolve all of your USA border crossing issues. So today is a great day. It's first day of fall, September 22nd, for you guys who don't know when fall is, or autumn. And got a couple of things I want to just chat about. We'll try to make this video fairly quick, although you guys know I can be a bit long-winded. And again, thank you for that standing ovation. I mean, it warms the cockles of my heart. So without any further ado, today's video is going to be on, can you travel to the US with a criminal record? Let's see, how could I answer that question? If you're on the Federation Starship USS Enterprise and you need to use a Borg transwarp conduit, can you use that going to the Alpha Quadrant or Delta Quadrant like Janeway did on Voyager? The question is yes or no. Sometimes you can, sometimes you cannot. If that transwarp conduit is not stable, you won't make it. If it's stable, you'll make it. It ties into the same exact question. It's a case by case basis, guys. So that means is it depends on the particular circumstances surrounding your case. Case in point, if you have a conviction for PPT, and you guys that have PPT knows what that means, or for other people who don't have that, that's for trafficking, drug trafficking. If you got a conviction for that, you cannot enter the USA unless you have a waiver for the most part. For the most part. Let me give you an example when I say most part. Let's just say your First Nations with I'm not quite sure some of the names of the bands, but I forget the name of the band up in North Van. Let's just say the North Vancouver band. It's a certain name, and please don't beat me up because I cannot remember the name. Let's say you're part of a registered band that's recognized by Homeland Security. So if you've got a conviction for trafficking and you're a registered band member of First Nations that's recognized by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, you actually do not need a waiver. Because First Nations members can enter, waiver or not. The same First Nations gentleman could have a conviction for murder. He does not need a waiver to enter USA. He doesn't. He could have just got out of a Matsqui, let's just say yesterday, down here in Abbey or Abbotsford. He just got out of Matsqui in Abbey, and he wants to visit Seattle the next day. As long as there's no restrictions here that prohibit him from leaving, like probation, parole, or yada yada, he can go. And the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, they have to let him in. They have to let him in. They cannot say no. As long as he's a registered member of that band, that First Nations band, then yeah, they have to let him in. They don't have to like it. They can grumble. But if he has the proof of being a registered member, they have to let him in under the Jay Treaty of 1794. And I won't bore you guys with that. You guys can look up Jay Treaty. So that kind of case, yeah, he does not need a waiver, that gentleman. But if you're Mr. Let's just say L. Singh and Sukhwinder Singh, and you've got a conviction for trafficking, drug trafficking, you do need a waiver. I mean, there's other things like if you fall into like U.S. derivative citizenship, like if certain family members are citizens and you qualify for a U.S. passport, that's kind of a different story. So that's why I said, guys, for the most part. So if you're not J Treaty and you don't fall into that derivative citizenship category based upon your parents being born and raised in the U.S., and it's a special formula for that anyway, which we won't go into. But if it's not derivative citizenship, you don't qualify for that, or First Nations, then you do need this waiver for trafficking. So it ties into the question, can you travel to the U.S. with a criminal record? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Now, at the risk of not helping out the discount waiver companies because they have to keep their lights on their own kind of way, there's certain convictions that don't require a waiver or actually you can get the lifetime clearance for. And they are licking their chops, meaning these cheap waiver companies, hoping that they have a list of the ones where you can get the lifetime clearances for so they can charge you guys, try to charge peanuts, whatever, to try to steal it from us. Well, they're going to have a bad day because we're not putting that list out anywhere. Those lists, all those procedures. Sorry, I mean, for you guys who can't see it in this video, I feel bad about that part. But I'm not letting Batman's pardons and waivers take this and try to monopolize it or monetize it, I should say. But it is what it is. This thing won't stay still. It'll just be. So if you got a conviction for trafficking, drug trafficking, and you get to the border, the guard's going to see that. The officer is going to see that more than likely, he's going to see it, and he's going to ask you about it. And depending upon the circumstances, he may just deny your entry, send you back to Canada, back to Surrey here, and say get a waiver, or he may take you in. It depends on your circumstances. Like, for example, if you were told 3 or 4 times, don't come back without a waiver, this is the fifth time you show up without the waiver, he's going to ask you, why did you not get this waiver? And you don't have an answer, there's a good chance you're going to be arrested. Or if you're caught running through Zero Ave by the U.S. Border Patrol, and you said you ran through because you don't have a waiver and you didn't want to go through the lane, you're getting arrested. You're getting probably sent down to detention. I think it's SeaTac. Or you may go to the Whatcom County Jail first, then it may take you down to SeaTac because it's a different process now anyway. And then once there, you could be placed into removal proceedings and in Seattle. It's nasty stuff. It's nasty stuff. So the bottom line is you guys gotta be careful in general when you're crossing these borders. If we had some kind of pass, let's just say, so to speak. So I used to trafficking because that's a lot easier for people to understand. So if you got the drug trafficking ones and you don't qualify in those areas that I mentioned, you do need this waiver. And if you try to enter again without getting this cleared, it could get really nasty for you guys. That's all I'm going to say. Because there's so many variables with this stuff, you can't really cover every variable in this video. So I'm just giving you just like general info. So the unfortunate part with a lot of these questions, they're so general. I mean, we can only give a general response. The only thing we can really say is it's always a case-by-case basis. Let me say it again, a case-by-case basis. And you guys in the audience, probably understand case-by-case basis. So it just depends on your circumstances. I mean, just what else can I really say? I mean, it just depends. Sometimes, yes, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, you're too kind. Please, you're just too kind. Please, no autographs. No autographs. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Man, we're becoming so popular, it is insane. We've got other locations now. They're busy. I don't want to bore you guys with that. I want to stay on the scope or the topic of the content here. Now, certain convictions or certain offenses, you do not need a waiver to enter. I'm going to throw out a free bone here for the discount waiver companies. If you're Joe Smith and you have a DUI for liquor in, I don't know, 2017, you do not need a waiver. So that's the free bone for the cheap waiver companies. But even Beavis and Butthead know that if you have a conviction for a DUI, you do not need a waiver. So they're going to say, well, I already know that. Well, that's all you guys get. Not you guys in the audience, the Batman's pardons and waivers. So this, again, ties into the topic of, can you travel to the U.S. with a criminal record? DUI, yeah, you don't need a waiver for it. And that's a criminal record. 3 DUIs, you wouldn't even need a waiver. The only thing with the DUIs, though, you got to be a little careful is, how can I say this without giving away anything to the discount waiver companies? If they can establish, they meaning CBP, if they can establish a pattern of alcohol abuse, that's when it gets tricky. you'll still get cleared, but if they can establish a pattern based upon whatever data is in the system, that's when they can deny you entry. And that has to be handled a different way, actually, than your standard waiver, because it's more that goes into that. And we've gotten those before. So a DUI by itself, no. You go down to that border and you tell the guard, well, I drink 3 bottles of Hennessy a night. Yeah, you're going to have a problem. Although I don't know many people here that can afford 3 bottles of Hennessy or even 1 bottle of Hennessy. There's not many Tupacs here, I don't think. Well, other than the one sitting here on the camera, but that's for a different subject, different story. So, can you travel to the U.S. with a criminal record? Yes, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. In all honesty, it really depends on a case by case basis. Um, Let's try to think of another offense that is fairly known. Okay, here we go. Simple assault. Simple assault. So you go to the Dublin's pub, let's just say, and you knock out a guy. I almost said something else. You knock out a guy who dissed you, let's just say. Let's say I go to Dublin's pub and there's a guy there who disses me. So then I clock him. And then once I get the conviction for simple assault, then that would deem me inadmissible to enter the USA. So same with you guys. You went to Dublin's pub, let's just say, or tap house, and you clock an individual in there who disses you or disrespects you, so to speak. You get a conviction for simple assault under Section 266. You do not require a waiver. And you guys, with these simple assault convictions, and you go to Batman's pardons and waivers, and they're telling you, oh yeah, you need a waiver. You guys fall for it. It's the fault of you guys. It's no one to blame but yourself. Because we're telling you here on this channel, if it's simple assault only, nothing else, and it's not a family member like a girlfriend, wife, whatever, that's different. You do not need a waiver for simple assault only. If it's a girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, whatever, yeah, it's getting a bit more tricky. Then you may need one, depending upon the circumstances. Because basically that would be under domestic violence. So you see a gentleman there, you clocked in Dublin's, he dissed you. That's not domestic violence. But now, if you see your ex-girlfriend there, this is a realistic scenario. You go to there and you see your ex-girlfriend there, and she's with another guy, and you go up there. Well, okay, I'll modify that. You see them in Dublin's pub, you don't say anything. So those two go outside to smoke. You go outside to confront her, so to speak, because you have self-esteem issues, let's just say. But you go confront her, even if she's a current girlfriend. You go confront her and you start arguing with her, and you grab her by the wrist and say, "You're coming with me." She snatches away. By you grabbing that wrist, you just assaulted her. And God forbid if when you grab the wrist, if she actually gets like a scratch or some injury, you could make it could get even worse. And the guy there, I mean, if you clock him by himself, that's not domestic violence. But if you grab her or if you pimp slap her for what she did for that, then you got a domestic violence offense. Then you need a waiver. Even if you just push her out of the way and say, "I don't want to talk to you." Now, this is where you guys got to be careful. And again, this is not advice any whatsoever. But if she starts to argue with you and gets in front of you, and you push her out of the way, you guys could get charged and convicted with that, because that's happened to someone right now we're dealing with. She tried to argue with him, and he pushed her out of the way. Then he looks like he's going to be inadmissible. And it could be the same thing if you're a guy there and you go down there to the bar or whatever, you're out with another girl, and then your main girl comes up and she says, "What are you doing with that?" And you tell her, you say, "Look, girl, I told you before, I got to keep the language clean here for YouTube. I can't say the way I normally would say it, so I'm going to say it. I'm going to try to say it as YouTube friendly as possible. I'm going to have to substitute some words here. Look here, girl. I told you in the beginning that let's just pretend. Look here, girl. I told you in the beginning that I'm a effing free agent. I do what I want. I go where I want, and I'm not going to be tied down by anything. And you knew this at the beginning, so you got no leg to stand on at all. I told you I got other girls, and yeah, it's one of my girls here. Although I wouldn't say girls, but this is one of my girls here. So it is what it is. So she would have gotten in front of me to argue about it, and I said, just get out of the way. And I'll just say, just get out of the way. I'm so hard. It's so hard trying to keep it YouTube friendly. Just get out of the way. By me doing that, now I made myself inadmissible to the USA because I moved her aside. So this also ties into how you guys live your personal lives. You guys got to be careful with this relationship stuff, because now what's happening is there's a lot of women here in Vancouver area. They're getting assaulted by these guys, and vice versa. I mean, it goes both ways. But it's a lot of stuff going on now. And honestly, guys, when I say guys, I mean like men and women. A lot of it really is self-esteem issues. Because if at the risk of picking on the guys, I'll pick on a guy for a moment here. You got a wee boy kind of guy, so to speak, as administrator calls them, tight-fitting pants around the ankles and hair in a ponytail or whatever. He already feels a lot of times, a lot of those guys feel like less manly because how society has kind of molded them or said they should behave. So that part I understand. I feel bad for those guys. They won't say the things that I do to people into society. I can't say it here on YouTube, but they won't say those things in person. So those guys feel kind of constrained, so to speak. Then they get in these relationships, they get desperate because they can't get a girl. And because of that, and then you got other issues that go along with it, like fighting and insecurity. He's asking her, where are you going? Who are you with? Yada, yada. And guys, this still ties into, can you travel to the U.S. with a criminal record? Because what happens, then she says, oh my God, you're stalking me, leave me alone. Then she gets a peace bond issue, and that's a whole other issue where you may talk yourself into being inadmissible to the USA. It's so many variables. And guys, just try to take care of yourselves. Just try to avoid a lot of this nonsense. You wee boys, you guys with these tight pants, you're going to have to learn how to get some courage, or more so some build up your self-esteem, build up your confidence. You got to get some confidence, because if you got confidence, women can see that. Women can smell it, like they can smell money. They see. I kind of got off topic here for a bit. This is my specialty area. The women can see the man has confidence, and he's a OG big baller, and doesn't give a flying flamingo about her. She is not going to act that way for the most part. If he knows that he can just dismiss her, she's probably going to be more humble and fight for his attention. More than likely, she's going to just not act that way for the most part. Each person is different, obviously. But if he's a big baller and she knows he's a baller, he doesn't care what she says, she's probably not going to be like that as much. But if you're a wee boy and you're insecure and you're asking her where she's at every hour of the day, then you happen to find her out in the bar with another guy, you're just asking for trouble, because that guy might stomp the PISS out of you, so to speak, P like Peter, out of you, or that guy just might clock you himself. You know what I mean? So a lot of you guys kind of put yourself in these situations where the simple way is you have your own confidence. You be an OG pimp player hustler, and make your paper, do your thing. Then you guys likely won't run into this situation. I mean, me personally, I gotta think back honestly. I've never ran into a situation like that. I've had birds mad at me, so to speak, because they couldn't get me to commit. Couldn't get Big Papa to commit. But beyond that, I mean, I haven't really ran into that situation. So I never had to pursue birds. Birds would pursue me. But anyway, that's another story. So I just got off on another topic there. I almost let my other side out here on camera, but I don't want to do that. I want to stick with topic. Can you travel to the U.S. with a criminal record? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But if you need to enter the USA or want to enter and you're deemed inadmissible, then come check us out at www.usentry.waiverservices.com. And we can get you sorted out quite proper here. I mean, because for us, we have a 99% success rate now. So if you need the help, we can definitely help you guys out. That will definitely for sure. So, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, please. Oh, please, guys, no autographs. Thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness, my. All right, guys. So again, we wrap up here. I got a bit long-winded again, but it is what it is. So Ken Scott, Senior, U.S. Immigration Law Intelligence Analyst with www.usentryWaiverServices.com, and it's 888-908-3841 or 604-562-8140. Give us a shot. We'll sort you out. We've got locations BC, Alberta, England, London, England, Estonia, Washington State, and soon to be kicking and screaming, soon to be Ontario. Ontario location is only going to be, for the most part, people who've been denied waivers, and we can turn the denial around. I've told you guys before why that is. Out there, they don't seem to understand the value of what they're getting because they got Batman next to them. But once Batman screws them over, then they come over to us. So anyway, so you guys enjoy yourselves. Have a great day. Because I'm glad fall's here because I'm like a vampire. I come out when it's at night or if it's cold, dark fall or winter. Looking at that movie, what's it called? 20 Days of Night. Something about 20 days, some kind of movie where they had vampires in Alaska. Days of Night. Well, anyway, I'll find it. All right, guys. In the words of my Vulcan colleague, live long and prosper. Why you should be denied entry to that country. So, if you're denied entry to the United States for criminality, maybe, at a bar fight, or maybe you were accused of, I don't know, it's okay. You didn't do it. This is what you want to do. You may need a U.S. entry waiver. You may, or you may not. If you do, you want to use sendittoken.com. Sendittoken.com. And once you use sendittoken.com, we can get you cleared to enter the United States. Does not matter what your conviction is, whether it's for or
nothing is impossible.
Why? Because we're there when you need us.
Sendittoken.com. I gotta tell you, folks, wait till Hulk Hogan comes out here. The roof is gonna come off the Bell Center here in Montreal. As the anticipation builds, you can feel it. The legendary Hulk Hogan is a heartbeat away